What's happening, guys? My name is Anthony, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some of the races that I did in rookie cars coming up to the D class safety rating. And if you guys don't know about Iracing, basically in order to drive certain cars you need to be in a certain safety rating, and I want to start driving the Formula Renault 2.0s, which means I need to be in D class. And at the moment of recording these videos, these races, I was in rookie class, so that means we had to use the Mazda MX-5. And don't get me wrong, these cars are actually incredibly fun to drive. I do see myself still driving this car even once I get up to A safety rating and I finally start driving the Mercedes W12 Formula 1 car. So yeah, it's just a lot of fun driving these cars, and it's good to get used to the game. It's a great car to get used to the game, so that's why I think a lot of people sort of steer towards this car rather than some of the other cars that you do receive once you do pick up the game. But yeah, as you can see, we're doing practice right now and things were going relatively well, I would say. We were just finding our pace, finding our consistency, and we were doing quite well with it up until this lap where we actually end up going just a little bit wide, and yeah, that sort of killed all of my confidence. And at that point I was like, nah, we're not going to be doing qualifying. So yeah, as you guys can see, we ended up sitting around for about 8 minutes or so, probably even longer, and just waiting for qualifying to finish. But finally we ended up finishing qualifying, and we're starting in last place obviously because we didn't do qualifying. So we've got the 4 green lights and we do get a great start in this race. However, the guy ahead of us didn't get a great start and we end up having to lift off and sort of turn out of his way, because you can get incident points even if it's not your fault for a collision, as you're about to see. Yeah, huge collision there, and because of that I end up getting involved in that, and that gives me 4 incident points, which is very frustrating. But either way, we just have to take it on the chin and just look at this twat right here. Yeah, this is the guy that gave us 4 incident points within a corner. In fact, it didn't even take us a corner to get 4 incident points. But as you can see, going through, we get our first yellow flag, which I'm not gonna lie, this may sound stupid. I didn't actually think yellow flags were in this game, mainly because we've been in some pretty big incidences if you watched our previous video on Iracing, and we didn't get yellow flags in either of those. And I do believe that there isn't wet conditions in this game, so there are some things in this game that should be in that isn't. And because of that I thought, okay, well maybe yellow flags for some reason just aren't in the game, but they are, so small detail. But anyways, we move on, and as you can see we're behind a grey Mazda. And at this point in time I was thinking to myself, well, right now I'm focusing on safety rating, because you basically want to focus on either safety rating or I rating, and at the moment of time I was focusing on the safety rating. And I was thinking to myself, well, should I make the overtake on this guy, because I don't really want to sit behind one person who's clearly slower than me for an entire race just so that I can get a safety rating. If I am quicker than the guy ahead, I do want to make that pass happen, even if we can make it as clean as possible. And we do end up catching up to a little train here, and I was thinking to myself, okay, well now maybe I should just hold back, because there are more cars to overtake. I don't want to get into a situation where I end up crashing into someone. We've already got 4 incident points, which isn't our fault, and we don't want to end up with 8 incident points, because that's when we'll start to potentially lose safety rating, which is basically counterintuitive to what we actually want to do. So I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm gonna start driving to my own sort of philosophy where I'm gonna try and stay as clean as possible, but if I do see the opportunity to make the overtake, I will make it, just because I don't want to sit behind someone for an entire race just for safety rating, because that just makes the game a lot more boring than usual. But yeah, moving on to lap 12 now, you can see we're pretty much right on the rear bumper of the grey Mazda, and at this point I was thinking, yeah, we've got to make the move happen at this point. You know, we're definitely quicker than him, and we did get a good run out of the final corner, which was one of the only times that we got a decent run on him out of the final corner. So I thought, okay, it's time to make the move happen. And as you can see, there was a little bit of collision here between the guys ahead of us, and then something weird happened. I'm sure it was desync, but yeah, let's just take a look at this. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why it's very sketchy to overtake people on iRacing, because there are desyncing issues exactly like that. And I do believe you still will get incident points even if you were nowhere near the person and they end up crashing like due to desync and stuff like that. So yeah, you need to be very careful. You have to thread the needle there. But still, we were still on the hunt. We still felt quicker than this guy ahead of us, so we were gonna go for it. If we did end up crashing again, then obviously it was my own fault. But I decided to go for it anyway, and I see that he was very weak going going into the first corner, so he goes wide and we decide to make the dive bomb happen here. We do end up making the move, but because of our tight entry, we didn't get the exit that we were looking for, and because of that he ends up getting a great run on us, and because this next banked corner is a left-hander, he's obviously going to have a huge advantage over us, so we just decide to let him pass and see if we can maybe make an overtake on the next lap or so. But lucky for us, we didn't actually have to wait that long for our next opportunity to make the move happen. We were very close to him, we definitely felt stronger around the track than him, so we just needed for him to make a mistake, and here comes that mistake. He goes very tight on the entry, which makes him go wide on the exit, and that allows us to get a pretty good run down to the final corner, and we were going to go for this. As you can see, we're trying to be as close as possible without touching him, obviously, because we want to have the widest angle going into this corner as possible, and we get that pretty decent corner there. He backs out because obviously you don't want to hit each other and gain incident points, and we have done a last to podium here. This is the final lap, but obviously by the end of the race nothing really had happened because we had made such a huge gap on the guy behind us, and that was the first race where we ended up doing a last to first. So I was pretty happy with that performance, both from the fact that I kept it as clean as possible and I still managed to get the podium. Hey guys, this is a little interruption just to let you guys know that if you are enjoying this iRacing content and you want to see more throughout 2022, make sure to go to the red button down below and subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and if you are subscribed, maybe leave a like on the video as well to help support the channel. So moving on to the next race that we ended up doing at the Okayama International Circuit, and this one was a bit interesting because I felt as if I had the confidence to go for pole here, and sometimes it's actually beneficial to go for pole instead of hanging back, and the reason for that is because if you're in the front and you get a good launch, then you're going to be by yourself anyway most chances. So that means that just like how you would at the back, you're going to get small incidence points, but you're also going to get that benefit of getting a lot of iRating as well. So I was going to go for pole because I did feel confident in my pace. I was doing low 46s, dipping into the 45s at certain points, whereas most people around me were doing high 46s, 47, so I did have the confidence to do this. But going into the first time lap now, you can see I just don't think as if we broke as aggressively as we usually do, and due to that we actually end up going quite wide, and that actually cuts off our lap here. And I don't know if I maybe misunderstood what they were doing, but I've seen streams where people would make a mistake and then they would hop back into the pits and go out and do another run basically. So that's what I tried to do in this scenario, but as you can see from the guy, the marshal standing right there with the white flag, it actually counted as a time lap, which means that this out lap that I'm about to do is going to count as my second and final timed lap, which at the time I was really confused because I was more than sure that I had seen people do this on Twitch, but apparently maybe I just misunderstood the situation there, or I don't know, maybe you just can't do that in the Mazda series. But we ended up going with a 52.6, which was our out lap time. We end up starting in P7 because the guys behind us didn't actually qualify. So that actually puts us towards the middle of the pack, which was worst case scenario at this point. But we've got the 4 red lights, we're waiting for the green lights to go, green lights goes, and we don't get a good start. The blue and pink car that was next to us, behind us, he gets a fantastic start. I think at this point he's actually like level with us, or he's actually past us, but we break quite deep going into the first corner and we actually managed to keep our position from that guy. So at least we've managed to keep our position, and because of our pace I generally thought to myself, okay, well, maybe if we can sliver our way through, then we can still get some decent, you know, safety ratings whilst also going for that iRating as well. Obviously you don't really want to be going for iRating and safety rating at the same time, just because generally you don't know who you're coming up against and people can make mistakes which might cause you to have an incident, and then obviously that's gonna hurt you in terms of the safety rating. So you do want to go for one or the other, and it makes more sense to go for one or the other, but at the time I really wanted to just try and push for a win here at this point, because you guys know already, I'm the type of person when I race, I don't necessarily want to just sit there behind someone who's slower than me just for safety rating. But you can see we break super deep going into that hairpin there, and we just about avoided contact, well, enough contact with the first car. But you can see that the second car went straight into the side of us, and now we've actually got 4 incident points. This is exactly what I was talking about just now, where, you know, you really do want to focus on one or the other. As the guy crashes and we almost crash into him again, you really do want to focus on one or the other, because if you don't, then you will get situations like this where it will end up causing you to harm yourself, basically, in situations where you really didn't need to harm yourself in terms of safety rating or I rating. So if you're new to this, like how I'm new to this, you definitely want to go for either I rating or safety rating first, which obviously is dependent on what you guys want. But moving on to the second lap now, you can see we're behind the black and green car, and at the time I was thinking, okay, if we can just get a better exit than him, I think we are faster overall, but if we can get a better exit, then obviously we can go for the overtake. And with the Mazda MX-5s, we already know that you pretty much need to get a fantastic exit off of a corner in order to pass someone in the overtaking zones, just because there's a lack of a downforce, which means there's a lack of a slipstream, basically. So you really need to be on top of the person in front of you in order to get past them. But as you can see, we're on P4 now, so we have made up a couple of positions, obviously due to the incidences that happened in the previous laps. But yeah, at the moment we're just trying to follow this car, see what we can do, and just, you know, pounce whenever the opportunity comes. Basically try and force him into a mistake. You might see me actually move a little bit over to the side just at times, just to try and get him offline a little bit and try and make the opportunity open up for itself. But yeah, you can see the guys ahead of us now. They're obviously slowly starting to pull away, and we get a pretty decent exit off of that sort of bank hairpin, or whatever you want to call it. So at this point we're thinking, okay, maybe we can get enough straight line speed to really brake super late and go for the move here. So that's exactly what we do. Brake later than him, and because obviously we've got the inside line, I decide to turn into the corner a lot sooner than I usually would, and that gives us the position. He basically just backs out of it, and that is the move done. We are now sitting in a podium position, and we can try and catch up to those guys, which we eventually do. As you can see now, we are on the final lap of this race, and we're just sitting behind. I think we caught up the lap before, and we're really just going for any sort of move here. These two had been battling, which allowed us to catch up to them, and because of that I was thinking to myself, okay, well, if they're going to be battling for the win, I'm going to try and sneak past any sort of opportunities. If any one of them make a mistake, if they crash, then that's going to give us the opportunity to win this race. So because of that, we are staying as close as possible, whilst also keeping a little bit of a distance here. And as you can see, these guys are battling. I was thinking to myself, okay, maybe I can slip behind this red car and try and get the move on the blue car, but the blue car gets a pretty decent run out of that corner, which means he's able to defend. We have a little bit of a touch there. We did get one incident point during this whole race, extra obviously, other than the first lap incident, but luckily we didn't actually get any incident points from that incident there, which, thank God, because if we did, we'd be sitting on 9 incident points, which would have, I believe, we would have ended up losing a little bit of safety rating instead of gaining a little bit of safety rating there. So thank God that the Iracing gods were on our side in that one. But yeah, as we come up to the final couple corners now, we have to get a pretty decent exit if we do want to get that second place. And though he breaks quite close to the apex and he doesn't get the best of runs, we don't get the best of runs either, and we're not going to be able to pass him. So we are going to finish on the podium position in this second race. So moving on to the final race of the video now, and this is probably my most dominating race so far in iRacing, especially in the Mazda MX-5s. So we've got the 4 red lights waiting for the green lights to go. The green lights go, and we get a pretty mediocre start, I would say. The guy ahead of us definitely got a better start than us, so we knew straight away that we wasn't going to be leading the race going into the first corner. So all we could do is just defend our second place position, which is exactly what we end up doing here. And now at this point we're in second place. All we've got to really worry about is the guy ahead, because the guy behind, I think he was from the previous race and he seemed pretty clean from that previous race. So in terms of, you know, sketchiness, it was all about the guy ahead and trying to get past him as soon as I can. He is making his presence known behind me, the guy, and we're just trying to keep up with this guy ahead and try and make any overtakes happen, try and make any moves happen when we could. And then moving on to lap 2 now, as you can see, we're a lot closer than we was on lap 1 coming through this section. And yeah, the aliens are back when it comes to iRacing. yeah, I definitely think that Lewis Hamilton would be pretty proud of this clear member of the hashtag #StillWeRise fan club there. But we did get a pretty good run going into this corner, so I decided to go on the outside there as I see he was going for the defense. We go around the outside, leaving him the space, and we managed to sort of get the move done here. Pretty much at this point, I knew I was going to be on the inside for this next corner, this next left-hander, so we had pretty much got the move done. We just needed to get past him and take over the lead of this race, and now we are leading in an Iracing race, which, to be honest, I didn't think I would be doing as soon just because of how nervous I was in the first video coming into Iracing. But we are leading this race, and we just need to keep our cool, keep our consistency, and we should pretty much easily win this race here. We need to make a pretty big mistake if we were going to lose this lead, which we actually do end up doing, by the way. Right here, going into this corner, I brake just a little bit too deep, and I have to really lift off the throttle on the brakes just to get the car to stay on the road, and because of that we ended up losing the position to the previous leader. But luckily we were behind, which means we got a slipstream going into this next corner. So as soon as I get close to his car, pivot out to the outside, and we just use that momentum to keep around the outside, braking as late as we can. And as you can see, the two guys behind us end up colliding, and those were my two biggest competitors in this race, because the guy behind in the blue Mazda, he just didn't have the pace that we had in this race. So our only threats in this race had just taken each other out, so it was going to be a pretty easy victory for me if I could just keep it on the road. And that's exactly what we ended up doing. We did end up getting one more incident point for going off the tracks, but other than that, it was a dominant victory from us. We ended up winning by 2.2 seconds, and that was our second win. We did win before, and I will probably make a video on our first win in a separate video, but for now that's going to be it for this video. I hope that you guys did enjoy this iRacing video. A lot more iRacing content coming in 2022, and if you did enjoy it, make sure to hit that like button, smash the subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys soon.